2023 has come and passed. It was a year of some amazing highs and also some lows for me. And today I'm gonna look back at all the big moments. Let's start with the absolute two biggest moments of the year. My trip to Singapore, Bali, and Taiwan in July, and my trip to Japan in April. These two events contain some of my favorite memories I've ever made in my 20s. It was the second international trip where I got to see friends while traveling, and that's pretty rare. Second and third. So the great company combined with the novelty of a brand new place plus tons of beautiful sights made for some great moments. It was also the first time I've attended a close friend's wedding, and that was just unforgettable. While I was out there, I felt truly alive and happy. Something about my state of being felt renewed. It's not that I'm unhappy at home, there's just a huge difference in my energy, and the distinction was so apparent that I took action and decided to try venturing out to Japan for more than just a few weeks, but that's 2024 stuff. So those were the two big events in 2023 that really had a positive impact on me. Now let's talk about a negative. There was an incident this year that felt pretty shitty and affected me quite a lot. To sum it up, it was basically just a falling out with some friends. I'm the type of person who believes that as long as you care and have the will to try, things will work out. But there's nothing you can do when one of those things is missing, and that just felt terrible. Personally, I've been fortunate enough to only have experienced this sort of like falling out feeling with ex-girlfriends after breaking up with them, or after breakups in general, and not really with friends. But I suppose that's why it felt pretty bad. It hurts more when you're not used to it. Hopefully, it's not something I have to get used to. But it happened this year and it did affect me quite negatively, so I think it deserves a mention. Overall, what helped me heal was accepting that it did happen, acknowledging that I tried my best and am still willing to talk things out because I still care. And traveling also helped a whole bunch, and finally, expressing myself through music helped as well. Which brings me to another big topic. This year was the debut of my official music. And when I say official, I basically just mean distributed officially to Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and so on. My artist name is Silius, and I'm creating mostly piano and orchestral music at the moment. I managed to create 4 music originals since I started later in the year, around September, I believe. I created 5 originals total this year, just didn't release 5. Definitely fewer than I would have liked, but I do feel like I've created some originals that I feel very proud of, which is a feeling that's newer to me. That's not to say that I don't like my previous originals from last year. I've created 10 total so far. I definitely do, especially since pretty much every original I've created is dedicated to a close friend. But my piano original titled Stars and Waves is simply a cut above the rest. I also really love the middle section of Vows Above Water. I'll probably release the stories behind these originals as videos later on, but feel free to check out my music on Spotify, link below. Music was more or less the primary objective and focus this year, at least that's what I tell myself, but let's mention a few of the other projects I did. Okay, I made a 1 gallon of water every day for a week. That was fun. That was like a challenge, 7-day challenge that I did. Probably the first time I got water poisoning, actually. Moving on, I got to see SoFi Stadium when working a podcast job, which was cool. I did a few skits with the Imagine Blue crew for my other team channel on YouTube. I redesigned my website to make it feel more personal to me. I did a challenge where I created a YouTube short video for almost 30 days straight. It was sort of more like 48 days out of 60. But that helped boost the channel from around 500 subscribers to over 1,000, which was cool. I started freelancing on Fiverr towards the end of the year, primarily doing voiceovers, and that's actually been really fun. I somehow am a level 1 seller now. I also got invited to the top teacher group in Skillshare and created a class about how to edit as fast as possible in Premiere Pro. And I also created a class that released today about how to use the new text-based editing tool in Premiere Pro. I'll leave a link down below if you're curious to check out either of these classes. You'll get 30 days free if you use the link. Also, if you actually watched this far into the video, thanks a bunch. If you comment down below mentioning some projects you worked on this year and what projects you want to work on next year and how Skillshare can help with that, I'll share an annual code with you for 1 year of Skillshare Premium for free. That's one of the perks of being a top teacher. You get a few of those codes every year. So I'll just be giving out one of those codes for this video. Anyways, continuing on with projects. I also worked on 2 different short films this year as the sound guy, also known as the production sound mixer, and those were some fun projects for sure. I also did some photography gigs for friends and family, as well as a stranger for the first time. One of them was a last-minute wedding, which was an interesting thing to experience. And finally, towards the end of the year, I've been trying out daily videos, but ultimately somewhat failing at them because the end of the year is always crazy busy and packed with social socializing with friends and family. But I wouldn't trade those times with my friends and family for the videos because I ultimately value my time with them more. Which brings us to the reflection part with friends and family. Let's go ahead and mention some of the more distinctive ones first. I did a few podcast episodes with friends that normally wouldn't do podcast episodes with me, and I thought each of those were really fun. I also had Wesley Anna on for one of those episodes, and it was super fun talking about journaling with her. I will say I definitely did fall off in creating stuff for my podcast after traveling started in April. That's something I need to work on as I move forward. Anyways, I volunteered at the Lunar New Year parade for the first time and was on the news for a good 3 seconds as a background character. That was interesting. And then in February, I went to Yosemite for the first time in the winter and went axe throwing, which was fun. Went tubing for the first time, had my friend dye my hair for the first time, experienced a super spreader COVID event at my doctor friend's match day, and I somehow dodged the COVID but ended up getting food poisoning and experienced the worst throwing up in my life that weekend. Luckily, I was totally fine a day after that. Experienced my first flight cancellation before heading to Japan, downloaded dating apps for the first time and went on some fun and interesting dates, learned how to swim for the first time with my cousin's help and some friends from Singapore, went to a 4DX theater for the first time, visited Spruce Goose, which is one of Google's HQs, and the Venice Google HQ as well. That was fun. At my birthday party this year, we had a big Nerf battle, which was the most distinctive event for that year. Every year has like somewhat of a different big event. And I attended a small group meeting with my close friend being the one who was leading it. That was also a first time. Fixed a battery issue with my Galaxy S3 from 2014, which is crazy. Managed to salvage some old photos and videos, which was great. Visited new areas in Hollywood for the first time, and you'd be surprised with all the places you haven't seen, like where you actually live close to. That was interesting. Visited some friends I made in Singapore at San Diego since they happened to be traveling and they were from California. That was really fun. Made indoor s'mores for the first time. Got to meet and spend more time with my nephews and nieces from some cousins that visited from out of state, and I met them for the first time too. So it's really, really cool hanging out with babies. If you haven't done it, it's very interesting. You just don't want to take care of them long term, that's all. Anyways, I did pottery for the first time, met some new friends, and attended a powerlifting competition for the first time as well. Then towards the end of the year, one of my close friends had a Christmas party where she had us play a lot of those party games that you see on TikTok. That was actually super fun, and it wasn't just because my team dominated, because we did, but it was more so because it was just fun in general. I think I thrive while playing those types of games. And finally, at the end of the year, it was primarily just hanging out with friends and family for the holidays. And I'm really glad that I got to before leaving to Japan. And I also want to mention the smaller moments that aren't as distinctive but still matter a lot to me. All the night walks I did with one of my close friends where we would just talk and catch up about life. And then a few other game nights I had with another close friend. And then more of the group events that we had, like the board game nights, escape room days, bouldering sessions, and other birthday and holiday events. I cherish all of those memories. 2023 was definitely a packed year for sure, and I definitely don't think that I would have been able to remember all of these things without documenting it. But looking back, I truly feel grateful for all the people in my life that continue to be there, creating new and fun memories with me and helping me through some tough times as well. They seriously helped me a lot when I needed it, and I will never forget that. And that brings me to some lessons I feel like I learned this year. Last year in February 2022, I began a list of declarations that I call my creed. Basically, the quick version of the story is that after reading 50 plus self-improvement books from 2018 to 2021, I adopted a lot of their ideals and principles, but felt like doing that something about it was wrong. It was me simply believing what others believed and not really deciding for myself whether something was truly what I wanted to live by. So I tossed all of it aside and started anew in 2022. So I would add a declaration that was basically an oath that I tried to live by after experiencing something emotional that made me realize something important. That way, I actually have an anchor and true attachment to it. There were definitely a lot of them that I added this year and updated in 2023, but I'd say the most important ones were these ones. I will never abandon others. I will see others for who they are and not who they were. I will strive to live a life worth remembering, a life I'm proud of. I definitely have more, but I'll save talking about them for another day. For the time being, I think the one that is most important to me right now is the last one. I feel like a lot of things that I'm doing right now, I could be doing better, but better is kind of ambiguous. So my guiding star right now will be that last oath. I will strive to live a life worth remembering. And for me, that means doing things that go beyond normal expectations. Some examples would be making moments with friends better by being more active and involved with plans on what to do and making them interesting and exciting things to do, asking more involved questions and staying curious to get to know them better as well. And more generally, I also just want to not let shyness or reluctance get in the way of acting on what I want. I want to spend more time on projects that I feel proud of instead of a lot of small projects that I won't really care much for after I create them. Basically, stuff like that. It's a relatively new addition to my creed, so I have a lot to think about going into 2024. That brings us to some concluding thoughts. 2023 was a full and fun year, packed with amazing highs and some lows. But I think at the end of this reflection, I definitely consider it a great year overall, where I experienced a lot of firsts, began publishing my music officially, and just overall learned quite a lot. Now 2024 is here, and I feel ready to take everything I learned and start a brand new adventure. And I think it's going to be quite an interesting start. I appreciate you if you made it to the end of this video. Please feel free to share some of your 2023 reflections in the comments down below. I'll definitely read it. Anyways, that's the whole reflection, guys. I hope you had a wonderful time during the holidays and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024.